Hare Krishna.
Want to test out the Bluetooth? Where? Oh, okay. Didn't realize it. I think I left my phone in my room. I was just looking, see, yeah. My wife was used to story. Don't knock, don't ask for John. She's kind of busy with something now. She can just go, honey, make sure I don't have it. Or
There's, it doesn't allow me to join right now, so can you just check out?
We're not going to start for 10 minutes. Did you ever see it? No. I need to get password, internet for, I can hotspot it here, maybe. See if I can hotspot it.
You can connect to temple.
What is it?
Goloka.
Goloka 5G?
It's not possible.
Anything is on.
Yeah, so I'm going to be recording, and it's our usual live stream. No way. It's not possible. I will just open the Zoom session, our Zoom session. I will invite all the disciples. I will make a recording, and then we will post it.
Oh, disconnect.
That's the only option we have right now.
Krishna. Okay.
No, please. I mean, on your page. I don't think that's gonna work.
It's connected.
No, it's just better. Yeah,
Connected?
exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me see if I can do that.
So then the next
no,
thing
I
is,
cannot do that.
hold on a second.
Are you an admin
So,
on
Bluetooth.
Facebook?
see if you can,
Oh, okay. I see. Let me see if I can do it like that. This way. How do I do yeah, right. Option. Video. No option like that. That's the problem. I'm on this profile, not mine.
It's connected to the speaker.
Personal,
Filter.
no. Yeah, because Facebook keeps changing everything, so that's why it doesn't work like that. So that's why I just suggest that just open the Zoom, then they invite everyone.
I'm not getting any new
It
mail
said
here.
that
Try-
you should open your Zoom on your phone, and then there will be something like a notification. I'm using? No, nothing.
Where would be?
I'm not sure whether it works and charges at the same time.
I tried, it was working.
But was it charging?
Charging not sure.
Not only.
Anyway, once Vijay
For
Krishna.
now, we'll keep it like this. Once Krishna Prabhu starts, I'll put it in.
Yeah.
Okay, no, actually, you will have to do that.
And this is my cable.
Okay, Prabhu.
Cost देख रहा है क्या? ये 2 एम्पियर है आउटपुट 5 वोल्ट 2 एम्पियर क्या दिख रहा है क्या चाहिए था
I want to see if I can charge it and use it at the same time.
It happens bro it is old technology no we cannot charge on this one nowadays parallel everything takes place charging means any symbol is there
Charging means it will blink green.
I'm not blinking
But now it is turned on. So it is this one.
yeah it works good okay Can all sing along if you want. Can I get a cup? Hot cup? Shall I fill it?
About tender coconut. Shall I fill with this tender coconut?
Another cup.
Other cup. Okay.
Govinda Mari Purusha Namaham Vaja
Have a microphone for the audience? Like a, yeah. Hare Krishna. Yeah, we're good.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So welcome all of you for the Japa workshop. So we are having the presence of Mahatma Prabhu from last 3 days. Prabhu gave 2 sessions on forgiveness. So just give the introduction. His Grace Mahatma Prabhu joined ISKCON in 1969 and was. Is my voice on? His Grace Mahatma Prabhu joined ISKCON in 1969 and was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1970.
Nadia.
He travels widely facilitating workshops and retreats on
It's
such
on
important
camera.
practices as
That means it
Japa,
would be silent.
forgiveness,
Has to go here.
But you
humility,
told me yesterday she should
vows,
camera
and sexual
For-
purity.
for the mic.
He has
For
served
the
as
other
temple
one.
president, book distributor, Sankirtan leader, college preacher, membership director, and VIT teacher and co-director. He is a co-director of Bhakti Life, a non-profit organization that teaches the practices of devotional service through interactive workshops, retreats, and online courses and counseling. He is best known in ISKCON for his recorded and live music and his workshop on Japa and forgiveness. He is the founder of Touchstone Training, a company that teaches the practices of devotional service through interactive seminars and worship. He is also a facilitator in Bhagavad Live, producers of live and online workshops and Japa retreats. He lives in Aluchua with his wife Janva. So very fortunate to
That's
have
20 years old, that description. My daughter's 21, and so she wasn't born then. That's where that description is 20 years old. So at least 80% inaccurate, but it's okay. No problem.
But we are very fortunate to have Prabhuji here, and I personally attended Forgiveness Intensive Course, a Prabhuji workshop online for 4 hours.
So for
It really helped me a
phones-
lot. And when 2020, Prabhuji had come, he had taken the 2019, Prabhuji had taken this Japa workshop.
For phone,
So we requested,
Krishna
Prabhuji
Govinda.
to take the Japa workshop.
This is
So
for
let us
phone.
thank Prabhuji one time loudly
It's not
chanting
working?
Hare Krishna mantra.
How do you know if it's working or not?
I'm checking it here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's only, I mean, I have used them many times. The off is for the phone, the on is for cameras or that other thing we have. So it should be fine. If it's not, that's weird. You want to see the difference? Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram. That's on camera. That should turn it off. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shadvaita Gadadhar Shivasani Guru. Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachani. Nirvisesa Sanyavari Paschatya Dasatarine. What? Give me the phone. I can. test it. I have another.
The sound is okay. When you use the mic, the sound is okay.
What's not working?
I
This
don't know.
this is not working.
This is not working. Again. No problems. The sound is okay.
Govindam, Govindam. The closer you are to the speaker, the better. How can you hear it? Because you're hearing me through the speaker.
It's okay.
Oh,
It's good.
so it is working. Yeah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachanini Nirvisesa Sanya. Thank you for coming. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nice to see you. And I'm going to begin this session with a little clip from Srila Prabhupada, very short. Probably you've all heard it before. I don't think it hurts to hear it 100 times or 1,000 times. It's so beautiful. I think this clip must have gone viral.
Jimam Bhaktyaraj. Real thing is bhakti. What you can offer to Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. What you have got, what is your value? And what is the value of your things? It is nothing. Therefore, the real thing is bhaktya. Real thing is your feeling. Krishna, kindly take it. I have no qualification. I am most rotten fallen. But I applaud this thing for you. Please take. This will be accepted. Don't be pakka. Always be careful. You are dealing with Krishna. That is my request. Thank you.
So I'm going to play that again, just to make sure you give you another
Om
chance.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo.
Jimam Bhaktyaraj. Real thing is bhakti. What you can offer to Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. What you have got, what is your value? And what is the value of your things? It is nothing. Therefore, the real thing is bhaktya. Real thing is your feeling. Krishna, kindly take it. I have no qualification. I am most rotten fallen. But I applaud this thing for you. Please take. This will be accepted. Don't be pakka. Always be careful. You are dealing with Krishna. That is my request. Thank you.
So who can tell me what Prabhupada is saying? The essence of what he's saying?
Everything actually belongs to Krishna. So we should not become puffed up thinking that we are offering something great. But we should know that we should actually offer our feelings to Krishna.
Yeah.
Bhakti, real thing is
We have, the real thing is bhakti. And that bhakti comes in our feeling. And Prabhupada said, Krishna, I'm offering you something that has, for you, no value. Not even my body has value. But I beg you accept it. What are the value of my things? What is the value of my body? What is the value of anything for Krishna? But I brought it to you. So I'm offering this to you, please accept. Patra pushpam palam toyam. This is an expansion or an explanation. Patra pushpam palam toyam. Yo me bhakta prayachiti. Offer with bhakti. Okay. Why am I presenting this at the beginning of a Japa retreat? Can anybody guess?
So we come out of a mechanical japa.
Exactly. it is very interesting to me how when we read this verse of the Gita, Patra Pushpam Palam Toyam, it is so clear that this water, that this fruit and this flower, of course tulsi is leaf, is valuable to Krishna, but it's very common and easily accessible. It's not diamonds, it's not gold. And it's very clear, I will accept it if offered with bhakti. Yo me bhakta prayachiti, tadaham uparitam, yo me bhakta prayachiti. However, somehow or other, for many of us, or the culture of ISKCON in many ways, when we chant japa, we throw this verse out the window and we start asking, what direction should I sit? How long should it take to chant? How do I pronounce properly? We bring in every kind of ritualistic concept of mechanical practice by the book and throw out bhakti and turn japa into a ritual. Can you relate to that? If I'm not telling you this, I guarantee I will get 10 questions. How long does it take? Can I chant standing? Can I walk? Is it okay? What direction must I sit? What time in the morning? Is it okay? After 7, is it all right? Or do I have bad rounds after 7:30? If I don't wash my hands, if I don't take a bath, can I chant? On and on and on and on. Isn't that interesting? It is so clear in our books that bhakti is nothing about ritual and everything, as Prabhupada said, about, okay, this is going to sound funny, it's about bhakti. Bhakti is everything about bhakti. Of course it is. And we ritualize it, and then we think we're perfecting bhakti if we perfect a ritual. Was there anything about ritual in this lecture? And Prabhupada said no. And he's talking about deity worship, which is very ritualistic, and he's trying to say that, okay, you're on the altar, you've got your earrings and your big tilak and your big sikha, and took 10 baths before you went on the altar and did achman for half an hour, and everything's great, but the real thing is bhakti. I'm not saying doing all that is not bhakti, but it could not be. Right? Yeah. So when I was listening to this, Prabhupada said, but Krishna, I brought this to you, please accept. And I was thinking, the holy name, I've brought this to you, please accept. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I have no devotion. I'm number one rascal. Well, I may not be number one because there's a bunch of us, so we're 200 rascals here in the room, or whatever, 150 or whatever. I'm not qualified to approach you. I've committed many sinful activities. Or even pious activities. I committed many pious activities without any interest in you, just to get something. So I feel unqualified to offer you anything. And I know that what I'm offering you is of no value to you, but I have come to you with my heart, with my feeling, with my devotion, that I want to offer you these holy names. You please accept it. Now, who would think that's japa? You would think, no, that's how you offer bhoga, right? Or how you do arti. But if we study Prabhupada's books, we get a very clear conception that bhakti means service, anyabhilashita shunyam, without any motive other than to please Krishna. And that is explained everywhere in Prabhupada's books. Whenever Prabhupada talks about pure devotional service, which is practically in every purport, this point comes up. Pure bhakti means without jnana, without karma, only for the pleasure of Krishna, right? That's our philosophy. And then we sit down to chant, and we ask, what direction should I sit? Is it okay? Is it a problem if it takes me more than 2 hours? I was late for arati, I didn't bathe. Can I chant my rounds now? And we just go on asking questions like that. And you know the story of Vidur's wife offering banana peels. Just meditate on that story. Why did Krishna accept it? Exactly what Prabhupada's saying here. Krishna, I'm offering this to you, you please accept. It's basically, as we know the story of Sanatan, when Sanatan Goswami's deity said, dry chapati, not even salt, and Sanatan said, he didn't say, please accept, he said, you must accept. You know, like, I don't have a choice. I will give you the best I can of my devotion. Now, another interesting point, as many of you know, maybe all of you know, Prabhupada said there's no love in the material world. So then you might think, well, how can I offer with any bhakti because I don't have any? Because love is prema, and I may be far from prema. Even if I'm on the stage of nistha, that's pretty far from prema. That could be 40 years away. Could be, right? And after 40 years, you still may not get there, right? So this has to be cleared up, because when Prabhupada says there's no love in the material world, what love is he talking about? Radha's love for Krishna. He's talking about prema. That you don't find anywhere. You're not going to find it in the material world, right? But Prabhupada uses the word love, he uses the word bhakti, he uses the word devotion, he uses the word affection all the time in relation to a sincere devotee service. Just yesterday I was listening to Prabhupada, and he was telling a devotee, you love Krishna. I can see you love Krishna. And the devotee had been in ISKCON 2 months. So what does Prabhupada mean when he says love? I can see that all the things you loved in the world, you detached from them, you focused on your service to Guru and Krishna. So I can see you love. You took your love and you put it there. Right? You sold your dog, you sold your guitar, right? You sold your motorcycle, and you came and moved in the temple. The things you loved, you sold. So that means you love Krishna. So Prabhupada is using love in a sense that relates to us, that we can say, I'm trying to love Krishna. I'm giving my love to Krishna. So how do you give your love to Krishna? Just as Prabhupada is saying here. Krishna, you please accept this. So I'm offering you the holy name. I'm not qualified. You please accept it. Why am I offering it to you? Out of love. I'm not asking anything other than I want to love you. That's what I'm asking for. That's pure bhakti, right? So here is something interesting. I find it very interesting. As you know, in Vedic times, if you didn't chant the mantra properly, you would not get, the mantra wouldn't have the power, because the power is in the sound, right? If you throw a brahmastra, you chant the wrong mantra, it hits the wrong person, I would imagine, right? Or it comes back and kills you. It was, supposed to be a short ah, and there was a long ah, and that meant, Isn't there a story like that? Who was it? Yeah. Was it a long ah or a short ah? Something like that. He chanted the mantra improperly, right? So, before the advent of Mahaprabhu and the mass distribution of the holy name as the Yuga Dharma, particularly in Dwapara Yuga, or perhaps in all ages, the chanting of the mantra had to be done perfectly. So the perfection of mantra was in the ritual. It was in the pronunciation. and you had to do the mantra, what time? If you have Gayatri, you have to do it sunrise, noon, sunset. And you have to do it when you're clean. And you have to be properly initiated. So many rules. So that's where it's all coming from. Because, and you go to the Vedas, it's like one time Prabhupada said, when devotees were asking about rules, even in deity worship, he said, you would faint if I told you all the rules. And then one time he said, Prabhupada, you know, it's inauspicious time, or it's an inauspicious direction to put the temple or the deities, or it's not according to Vastu properly. And Prabhupada said, if I were to follow all these rules, I could not do anything. Because practically there'd only be like a 20-second window every day to do something. Otherwise it's inauspicious because it's right, the wrong time, the wrong day of the week, in the wrong city, right? So the Vedas has a lot of ritual. And as we know, the Smarta Brahmins, their focus is on perfecting the ritual, perfecting the pronunciation. Right? That's why when you see them chanting Sanskrit, they're like timing it perfect. Om Purnam Adha Purnam Idam. Right? It's like, it's all perfect. Purnat Purnam. I can't imitate it because I don't know exactly how they do it. Purnam Purnat Udachyate. You know, we've all seen it. It's like perfect. It's coming. Like, but for us, we wouldn't consider that perfection. We wouldn't consider, oh, he's a Paka devotee because he perfectly pronounced the mantra. We would consider him a Paka devotee because he pronounced the mantra improperly with bhakti. Now I have some bad news. Most of us pronounce the Hare Krishna mantra improperly. How many of you chant like this? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Raise your hand. Okay, I was right. We all pronounce it wrong. And if you go down to South India, I don't know if we're far enough south, Krishna becomes Krishna, right? Hare Krishna, Krishna. And if you go to Mayapur, it becomes Krishna and Rama. And they were chanting Rama, Hare Rama. And Prabhupada said, who is this Rama? So by ritualistic standards, the Hare Krishna movement is hopeless. There's like hardly, unless you like know Sanskrit and are focused when you chant the mantra, you're not actually chanting it properly. Hare Krishna, and what to speak, you're Indian, so you're obviously a lot closer than the Americans or the South Americans or the Germans. Yeah, Hare Krishna, you know? Or the Russians, Hare Krishna. Something like that. So, a beautiful story was a Sanskritist heard Prabhupada's first disciples from America, all from America, chanting Japa, and he went to Prabhupada and said, they're mispronouncing. And Prabhupada said, yes, I know. Like Prabhupada didn't know. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada didn't know that was wrong. That's what he was hearing. You listen to like 1969, go watch videos of 1969 and they will say, Hare Krishna, everyone. So Krishna became Krishna. So you're a Sanskrit, it's like, this is like, you're violating, the law of the universe. Right? So Prabhupada said something beautiful, I think so beautiful. He said, I know, but Krishna knows who they're calling. So like the little baby, he's trying to speak and it's so cute. Isn't it? Oh, that's so cute. So we're fallen souls, we're trying to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 whatever, Rama, Rama, Krishna. And Krishna's saying, oh, that's so cute. because, because Krishna knows, Krishna can see what's in your heart. And that's what's important, right? So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it was kind of a shock for us when Chaitanya Charitamrita came out. It was about 1974, 75. Well, the first volume I think was 74, and then the whole thing in 75 came out. And then we're from America. We don't know anything. I hadn't come to India till 1975, and even if I come, I don't know everything about India. Then Prabhupada's talking in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Mayavadis chanting Hare Krishna. And we're thinking, if you're a Mayavadi, why would you chant Hare Krishna? Because for us, you chant Hare Krishna out of bhakti, to love Krishna. Right? And then we learn, they're chanting Hare Krishna to become Krishna. Okay, that's a new one for me. I didn't know that. I just learned you chant Hare Krishna to love Krishna. I didn't know you chant with an intent of becoming Krishna. So, like, okay, you can chant Hare Krishna. And I thought the Maha Mantra meant, Krishna, let me serve you, let me love you, let me, purify me, uplift me. That's what I thought the Maha Mantra meant. That's what Prabhupada said it meant. That's what our Acharyas said it meant. And now Prabhupada's saying, for the Mayavadis, it means, Krishna, let me become you. And we go, whoa, that's interesting. It's the same mantra, right? I mean, it sounds the same, right? So what do we understand from that? We understand it's the same mantra only externally, but depending on the consciousness of the person who's chanting, it's a much different mantra. So when a pure devotee chants, there's a much different mantra when the new bhakta chants, right? Completely, it sounds the same, right? Now, it's possible that I could be doing kirtan, not with the desire to glorify Krishna, but a desire for you to glorify me. So I'm going to perform this amazing kirtan, like you've never seen before, musically. And I'm going to sing like a Gandharva, and you're all going to come up to me after the kirtan and go, Prabhuji, that was amazing. And that was the reason I did the kirtan. So I'm like, that wasn't to please the deity, it was to impress you. So you would come up and say, you're great, and say, Prabhu, can you chant at my wedding? And you give them your card, and it'll be 10,000 rupees per mantra, whatever your fee is. So you're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, meditating on glorifying yourself. Is that possible? Definitely possible. And it does happen. To one degree or another, right? So, from the ritualistic perspective, you're chanting Hare Krishna. From the actual perspective, you're not. You're chanting, look at me, right? And that's why Prabhupada, when he once heard a Sahajiya Kirtan of a professional Kirtan group, when they were doing the Maha Mantra, he said they're not chanting Hare Krishna. So could you imagine you're sitting in the room with Prabhupada and you hear a kirtan, Hare Krishna, and Prabhupada said, they're not chanting Hare Krishna, and you're like looking at the devotees and going, right, it sounds like they are, this is mystical, what's going on here? I'm hearing the Maha Mantra, and Prabhupada's saying, they're not chanting. And then Prabhupada said they're chanting money, money. Give me money, give me money, 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 give me money. Because they're professionals and they chant for money. And if they chant nice and you like them, they'll hire you. And they know that. So he said they're not chanting the mantra, they're chanting money. Right? So the most important thing I can give you, and this is why I wanted to start on this point. The most important thing I can give you is that it's not the externals that you're trying to perfect. You're trying to perfect the mood, the very same mood, which is the essence of everything we do in service, which is to offer with bhakti uparitam, with love. So I can take the mantra and I can offer the mantra to Krishna with love. Krishna, please accept this mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's an offering. Some devotees, when they chant the Maha Mantra, they see they're offering a flower to the deity. Each mantra is a flower. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Just like that's, they're making an offering. In the same mood, you would make that offering. Please accept this. Or when you offer a flower, it actually means you're surrendering. Your flower represents you, the soul, and you're surrendering yourself. So it's Krishna, I'm surrendering through the mantra. It's so interesting that we learned from Prabhupada, the main thing Prabhupada said was the Maha Mantra means, Krishna, please engage me in your service. And then Prabhupada said a few other things. One time in 1968, he said, it means, Krishna, please accept me. So now we're not even saying, accept the mantra, we're going further, accept me. Accept the person who's chanting the mantra. Please accept me in a relationship. I'm the one who left the relationship, please accept me back. Another time, only once, that Prabhupada said, please accept me, and only once, I believe, he said, oh my friend, oh my friend. That's the meaning of the mantra. Oh my friend, oh my friend. But we've discovered by the grace of devotees who have taught about the holy name that there are other meanings of the Maha Mantra. And there may be hundreds, if not thousands of meanings, because each devotee, when they're chanting the mantra, they have an experience, an emotional experience, and they write that down, and they say, this is what the mantra means. It's that their emotional experience. So I'll give you an example. Would you like to hear an example of one of them? This is so beautiful. It's one of my favorites. It's so beautiful. And I don't know who this may be from Dhyana Chandra. It may be Goswami. It may be from him. Krishna, please bring my heart closer to your heart. Wow. You can all say wow on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Isn't that beautiful? Krishna, please bring my heart closer to your heart. Because where's my heart right now? What is my heart thinking about? What's important in my life? Where is my heart? Where my heart is where my attachments are, right? So you don't have to say, Krishna, detach me. You just say, don't go negative. It's not a good idea. Go positive. Krishna, please bring my heart closer to you. It's beautiful, isn't it? So that's what he was praying for. One of the things, of many things that he was feeling while he was chanting. Another feeling he expressed is, Krishna, please make me qualified to serve you, because I feel impure, and you ever feel impure, anybody? Or am I the only one? Yeah. I'm going, when you go on the altar, it's like, why am I here? I'm so impure. So, you naturally feel like, okay, Krishna, make me qualified to do this service. Or you're asking me to go out and do a bhakti rickshaw and teach people, make me qualified. But specifically, make me qualified to be in Ras Leela. That's more where they're thinking. Make me qualified to dance with you. Make me qualified in a way that I can serve you with love. So it's an emotion. And then we write that as a meaning because that's what it means to that person. And so, in your life, even if you haven't been a devotee that long, but if you've been like 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year, what to speak of 10, 20, 30, you will see that according to what you're going through in life, the Maha Mantra is, you're praying to it slightly differently according to the challenges and the needs of the moment, isn't it? So the meaning of the Maha Mantra is not necessarily fixed to mean just what Prabhupada said or just what the Acharyas said, but it means what it means that you're expressing through it. And if you're expressing something that is pure within the realm of pure bhakti, then the meaning of your mantra is bona fide. Krishna, please help me become a better servant of you, a better servant of my Guru. And sometimes when I'm chanting, I'm feeling like Krishna Leela is so deep, there's so many levels to it, and I want to understand it more deeply. Krishna, please help me, purify my heart, my mind, because there's so many things in our philosophy and so much about Leela you can't understand by reading. You have to have the purity to understand it. It's not intellectual. I mean, it's intellectual in theory, but to actually understand it, you have to have purity, right? So sometimes I'm praying to Krishna, give me the purity so I can understand this. Even one shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Give me the purity to understand this shloka. So, Hare Krishna. And so maybe at that point in my life, that week, something is happening and I need to understand this shloka and I feel I don't understand and understand. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Not that I'm, meditating on the shloka so much, but there's a need that I'm expressing to Krishna to go deeper in my bhakti, my understanding, or whatever it is. So here's my joke. Like, we do a little cartoon. We could make a video like this. It'd be really funny. And the title of the video is, What is in Your Mantra? Right, So we have little thought bubbles, right? Above all the devotees while they're chanting, And when, you go around and, the thought bubble, I wonder what we're having for breakfast. I really like that upma. And I go, Prabhu, what's in your japa? I said, upma with tomato chutney. That's in my japa. Yes? And then another devotee, Hare Krishna, and he just applied for a job. It's like, I hope I get this job. If I don't get this job, my parents are going to kill me. What to do? What's in your japa, Prabhu? My CV, my application to this company. I'm just meditating. Maybe I should rewrite it. Maybe it wasn't good enough. Maybe I should resend it. That's in my... And you go around the room, right? And so many things are going to be in our japa, and you're all laughing because you know it's true. Right? But the reality is, none of that should be in your japa. The only thing that should be in your japa is, Krishna, please accept. Another thing, obviously, that is in a lot of devotees' japa is, how many rounds do I have left? Oh my God, I still have 10. It's going so slow. Krishna, can you make it easier on me? Can we get this done faster? Yeah. That's in your job also. Raise your hand if you ever had that in your job. Yeah. So now, not to be hard on you, but I think for educating ourselves, we need to be hard on ourselves if we're going to improve our japa. And I would like to state bluntly, that is not japa. That is upma. That is a CV. That is, my mother's going to beat me up. That is whatever it is. This is boring. This is tiring. I wonder if I can get it 15 minutes in the brahmacharya ashram on the bed with nobody bothering me. This is not japa. What is this? This is exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. It's CV, it's upma, it's this. That's what it is. So you might say, well, that's kind of hard to say that's not japa. I never heard
Prabhupada say that? I mean, who you think you are to say that? Okay, as I said, I'm being hard. You are chanting. I can't say you're not chanting. But, okay, let's use another example. You're reading a book. And while you're reading the book, it's 8:55 in the morning, and you're reading the book, but you're thinking about upma because you can smell it. And upma's your favorite. And you smell that tomato chutney, and you're like, okay. And you're reading the book. And I say, Prabhu, tell me what you read. And you can't tell me because the whole time you were thinking about upma. We've all done that, right? We've all been distracted when we're reading. And we know if someone asked us, what did you just read on this page? Something, Draupadi, something. Something about Draupadi, yeah. That's it, right? But you've been here 4 minutes reading. Where's your mind? So, if we say, you didn't read, no one will take offense. Everyone will say, yeah, you're right, I didn't read. But if we say, you're not chanting japa, how can you say I'm not chanting japa? I was chanting japa. No, but it's the same thing, isn't it? I mean, it's really the same thing. So, in my experience in teaching japa and also attending japa workshops, I think one of the problems we face is just defining what it is and what it isn't. Like we had our little workshop on forgiveness. You always have to define what you're talking about. Otherwise, we all have different ideas. What is forgiveness? Let's define it. And then we can teach it. Otherwise, you may think forgiveness just means, somebody hurts me and I just don't say anything, but I burn inside my whole life and I die with it in my heart. No, that's not forgiveness. But I didn't say anything. But no. We have to define what it is. Forgiveness means to let it go. So when you see that person in the future, no problem. Nothing. When you're on your deathbed, it's all clear. So the same way, we need to define japa. What it is and what it isn't. So I think we have a clear idea now what it isn't and what it is. Just general idea, correct? So when I'm chanting japa, what I'm trying to do is beg, petition Krishna to help me come closer to Him, to help me become purified, to help me become a better devotee, to help me overcome anarthas, and to help me blank with so many things, or to help me execute the orders of my spiritual master because I feel unqualified, to help me discipline myself, to be more self-controlled. Whatever it is, we're praying to Krishna to come closer to Him and remove everything that's in the way. There's a lot of things in the way, right? Basically ourselves. That's the main thing. So that's what japa is. And if I just chant to get my rounds done, what's that all about? How's that going to help? Now, I think someone can do the math. I was initiated in January of 1970. We're in February of 2023. Does that mean I've been a devotee? No, I became a devotee in January of 1970. Does that mean I've been a devotee 23 years? Is that 53 years? Is that correct? Yeah. So naturally, when you're a young devotee, you think, if I've been chanting for 53 years, I'm going to be way up there. Some bad news for you. And I think this should be obvious. If you do something the wrong way for 53 years, I can show you a lot of Prabhus who've been playing mridanga the wrong way for 53 years. And they're really good at playing it the wrong way. They've got it in their blood. Okay? And you take a little 7, 8-year-old, give him some mridanga lessons. In 3 to 6 months, he will put that other devotee who's been playing wrong for 53 years to shame. And I see it all the time when I travel ISKCON. There's little kids playing mridanga. I'm like, can you show me that beat? And I've been playing 53 years. I don't know that beat. And he learned it, right? He's doing it the right way. So I want to shatter that illusion that just by chanting poorly for 53 years, somehow or other, mystically, magically, you're going to chant Shir Nam, right? Okay, let's give another example. 53 years, I eat poorly, and I don't exercise. And does that mean on the 54th year I'm going to be healthy? Of course not, right? So I think it's so interesting how we apply certain things to spiritual practices that would never, you couldn't apply that same logic to anything else. But we think somehow or other it's going to work. Well, I'm just here after 53 years to testify, and any senior devotee can testify, it doesn't get better unless you make it better. And it definitely can get worse, because every day you can chant good rounds or bad rounds, and it doesn't matter how long you've been a devotee. You have the potency to chant horrible rounds even if you've been a devotee for 100 years. It's possible. Because every day, isn't it? Like, how many successful businessmen have opened businesses that went bankrupt? Well, I'm successful, I'm going to do another one. Yeah, but you opened it up at the wrong time. You miscalculated, right? Or you made an investment. You're like, I've invested so much money, I make so much money. Then you make a big investment and you misjudged. The best business people do this, right? So you can always do it wrong. Doesn't matter how successful you are, doesn't matter what your track record is, you can always do it wrong. Now, if you're very advanced in Krishna consciousness, it's unlikely you're going to do it wrong, because you've been doing it right for so long. But the potential is always there to commit nam aparad. You can do it at any moment. And the potential is there for a new devotee to chant properly on day one, if they offer the holy name their heart and their devotion, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So this is the foundation upon which anything else I teach you will be based. And if we don't get this, then we got nothing. We just got a bunch of facts and shlokas. But this is the essence. So before I go further, I would like, well, we've gone 45 minutes. I would like to ask if anyone has any questions or doubts. If you have doubt, because maybe I said something and you think, I never heard that before. Where's that shloka? Where's that verse? Express your doubts. We want to clear everything up before we go forward. We have a wireless mic, don't we?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much.
Have a wireless mic? You could bring it, you can ask, and then you can bring the mic to the devotee in the back.
Prabhu, you were telling about the chanting means there is mood behind that. That's what actual chanting is. So while chanting, is it that we have to meditate on certain pastimes? That mood become, maintaining that, having that mood is seems very artificial. How do we bring in that mood?
That's a very good question. And Prabhupada has answered this question many times. And you kind of answered it by saying it's artificial. For you, when you're chanting, maybe for you, your goal in bhakti at this level you're on is much lower than someone else's. So your prayer is just, Krishna help me develop this level of devotion, which is maybe not that high, but for you that's about as high as you can go. And so if you were praying for some very, very high level, which is unnatural, artificial, impossible, then yes, we would say that kind of chanting is, it's unrealistic, it's not powerful. So we apply that principle to answer the question, should I think of Krishna's pastimes when I chant? And the answer is, you should think of Krishna's pastimes even when you don't chant, right? Ashtakali Leela, we should always think of Krishna, never forget him. However, Prabhupada on many occasions said, That's a bad question. I'm paraphrasing. I'm going to make it more exciting, keep you awake all day and interested. So I'm going to paraphrase it more how I would say, after I heard what Prabhupada said, how I would say it. Say, if you have to ask this question, should I think of Krishna's pastimes when I chant, the answer will always be no. Because if you're so advanced that you're thinking of Krishna's pastimes when you're chanting, you wouldn't ask the question. And the only reason you're asking the question is, as you rightly said, you're forcing yourself, so it's unnatural. Okay, that's basically Prabhupada's answer. Now I'll explain why that's his answer. You've probably heard this progression, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, right? First you chant the name, then Krishna will reveal his Rupa, his form. Nama, Rupa, Guna. The qualities will be meant with Lila. Now, this is so simple, it's nothing esoteric, right? If I know you, how could I know you? Oh, I could only know your name and never know anything about your qualities, your pastimes, and your form. I don't even know what you look like. You're just a blank on an Instagram. And all I know is your name. But I like what you're saying, so I send you a private message and say, can we talk? And then so we do a video chat. Now I see you. Now there's a form. Okay, I know your form. Because your name is not disconnected from your form. You and your form aren't two different things. Neither are your characteristics. Neither are your activities. So that as I get to know you, I know more about you. So then I get the whole package. Your name, I see you physically. I interact with you, so I come to see the qualities you have. And as I talk to you, I learn about what do you do, what's your work, and what are your hobbies. So I know what your leelas, quote-unquote leelas are. So Prabhupada's point is, wherever Krishna is present, obviously, there's leela, and there's quality, and there's form. Because how can you have Krishna without a form? We're not impersonalists. So there's Krishna. Krishna has all these qualities. He doesn't show up without qualities. Like, here's Krishna. First you realize the form, and then later on the qualities descend. No, they're there, you just don't realize it. So we realize the name, sound, maybe we don't see the form, or we're not meditating on it, we're not realizing the qualities. We read about them, but we're not seeing them. So Prabhupada said, or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, and Prabhupada talked about, in the second canto, Transcendental Television. Do you know that purport? You can, just as you can see something that's being broadcast miles away, the pure devotee can see the broadcast from Vaikuntha. Hare Krishna. Thank you. You can see the broadcast from Vaikuntha, Transcendental Television. So, I believe it was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, when the pure devotee chants, he sees the Leela. And he said, sometimes you'll see a pure devotee chanting and they're crying. And sometimes you'll see them laughing. And he said, why? He said, because Krishna's doing something funny and they're laughing, and then Krishna's leaving the gopis, and then the devotee sees that and then he's crying. He said, that's why. That's pretty amazing. So then you wouldn't ask the question, well, Prabhu, should I try to see the Leela? Like, what kind of question is that? You got the transcendental satellite installed yet? And if it's installed, you don't have to ask the question, right? But then he said something even more interesting. He said, in further advanced state, he's no longer seeing the Leela, he is in the Leela, he's participating. Wow. Hare Krishna. What do you think of that? I have a story for you. I was going to wait to save it till after 11. But it's the perfect time for it. It's a story about the mercy of Bhaktisiddhanta. So, there was a young devotee who was somehow or other, after 2 months, ended up as Prabhupada's servant. And he's like his first day of His first day on the job, in the next room, he hears Prabhupada crying. It's like, oh my God. And so he asked the older devotee, what's going on? And she said, oh, it's normal. Prabhupada's chanting and crying. So it's time for him to bring Prabhupada in his afternoon suite. So he's like, what to do? And he goes in there and he sees Prabhupada crying and crying. And he starts crying. And he said, Prabhupada, why are you crying? He said, my spiritual master is so merciful. He revealed Krishna's form to me, and I'm seeing Krishna's form, and I'm just crying and crying. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai! And Prabhupada said, but why are you crying? He said, Prabhupada, because I'm overwhelmed by you crying in your bhakti. So, it's interesting that we are, it's said that sadhana is just what the pure devotees do, but done without pure bhakti. Like you do the same thing. Like what do pure devotees do? Well, they sit around and talk about Krishna. Except when they sit around and talk about Krishna, they all cry and faint and roll on the ground or whatever. Their hearts are melting. So we're sitting around, and our hearts are melting a little bit, and sometimes we might cry if we're fortunate, but not like them. So we're doing the same things they're doing, basically. We're chanting, kirtan, so on and so forth. But the experience is different, right? So we're supposed to do those things. The problem is, when we don't have the realization, if we somehow or other deceive ourselves to think we're on that level, then we're in big trouble. Oh, and I chant, I'm seeing Krishna Lila. Yeah, right. How's that possible? Oh, I have Krishna book in front of me. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. But no Krishna book, then it's like, well, what did you do last night? Well, last night I looked at each picture for 6 minutes and I got it in my mind so I can go through it. All right. But Prabhupada said, that's artificial. He didn't recommend, he said, you listen to the holy name, you chant. Like Prabhupada said, chant, chant, what did he say? Sincerely. Like listen to the holy name while you chant sincerely, something like that. So you chant sincerely, basic idea. And then this will happen. And if you have to try to make it happen when it's not happening, that's not the process. Because the level we're on is we have to chant with whatever bhakti we have, whatever devotion. And as we become purified, everything will be revealed. The desire to hear those leelas. Now, and think of those leelas. Now, some devotees, they're very advanced from many lifetimes, and they'll just chant and think of those leelas, or think of their deities, or they read a lot of Bhagavatam, so they'll think Bhagavatam while they chant. So that's also natural, because you're not forcing yourself. So there was once a devotee very early in the movement, and Prabhupada and Shastra said you should always think of Krishna. So he had this little, what is called a harmonica holder. It's a piece of metal that goes around your neck. Harmonica is a little instrument like this. And it fits on this piece right up to your mouth. So if you're playing guitar, you can sing, and then you can move your head down, and you can play the harmonica. And then you can sing. You ever seen that before? Yeah. So this devotee thought, I'm always supposed to remember Krishna. So he got out his harmonica holder, and he put a picture of Krishna on it, so that wherever he went, he would think of Krishna. I wouldn't make him the temple driver of the van, but Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We were young devotees, so what do we know about bhakti? And this, but even as young devotees, when something was weird, we kind of felt, this is weird. There's something wrong with the harmonica holder picture, and everything the devotee's doing is washing the pots and looking at the picture. Never forget Krishna. Just intuitively, you got to understand something's wrong with that. Right? So, today if that happens, go, Prabhu, it's a little weird, Krishna will reveal himself to you, someday, but, this isn't the process. I mean, there are pictures on the wall, you can chant to them, but we had asked Prabhupada, and Prabhupada gave the same answer. He said it's artificial. So there is a word that Prabhupada used, artificial, to mean you're either trying to jack yourself up to a state that you're not qualified for yet, or you think you're on that state when you're not. Like, if I go up to you and say, Prabhuji, you know that I'm lower than a worm's stool. You know that, right? And you're like, okay, whatever. Whatever you say, Prabhu. I'm not going to say you're lower than a worm, but if you want to say it, okay. If that makes you happy, okay. Whatever. But we know it's a problem, because we know that devotee does not feel lower than a worm's stool. But that devotee knows that that's a symptom of humility. So he's trying to practice it. But that is a dangerous thing to practice without having the realization, because it's very artificial. It's not natural, right? What would be more natural? I see you and I go, I really appreciate your service. I watch you and I'm hoping someday I appreciate your bhakti. I don't feel I have it. That's normal. No one will think, oh, you're crazy. You'll just think, oh, that's nice, thank you. That's normal for us. Because that's our actual realization. To have a realization, I'm lower than a worm's stool, that's a very high level of bhakti. It's not available to just any devotee. But we understand that that's how the pure devotee feels. And we look at that and think, how could you feel lower than a worm's stool? That is inconceivable. And I'll prove it, right? There are 8 billion people in the world. Right? 8 billion, what, 300 million now? Whatever it is. How many of those people do you feel are better than you, and how many of those people do you feel you're better than? Or let me rephrase it another way. If you want to. Okay, let's restart over again. We want to check if you actually realize you're lower than a worm's stool, and this is how we're going to check. Do you feel those 8 billion, 300 million people are all better than you? Raise your hand if you do. And for everyone who raises their hand, we have a psychiatrist who will talk to you after class. Now let's be realistic. Let's say you didn't hear this lecture and you just came here and I said, when you go out in the world, you naturally as a human, you evaluate people. You see, this person's cleaning the toilet, this person's running the company, this person is in upper management, this person is just out of university. I've been out of university for 10 years. I went to a better university. We're making all these, right, calculations where we stand in relation to other people. Isn't it? Yeah, that's just normal, right? So if you're like a normal human being and that's what you do, you cannot feel that you're lower than a worm's stool unless you're mentally ill, or you've taken a lot of drugs, or you're extremely drunk. Right? So that's the point of saying, okay, I realize that I have this ego that thinks I'm better than a lot of people, right? And even if you got to the point where you felt, actually, Prabhu, I really do feel these 8 billion, 300 million people are better than me, let's go to the insects. Okay, do you think all the mosquitoes are better than you? Because he's saying lower than a worm's stool. Okay, so now we're going, well, let's just start with animals. Are all the animals better than you? Okay, how about the birds? How about the bees? Let's get into mosquitoes and worms. Are they all better than you? And Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying, yes, they are better than me. Try to figure that out. Can you figure that out? And he's a pure devotee. This is not any kind of mental problem. Can you figure that out? No, you can't figure that out. Because we don't have that realization. So to go around and say I'm lower than a worm on stool is like, Prabhu, I have to talk to you about that. That is not going to help you. It's not possible. Right? So Prabhupada uses the word artificial. So when it's artificial, it doesn't help you because it has nothing to do with you. Every devotee wants to go around and say, oh, Prabhu, Mataji, I'm the most fallen. You really believe that? Okay, you can serve prasadam today, and if there's any left, you get it. And if not, then, too bad. You're the most fallen, you don't deserve it. The temple room is packed. All right, you're the most fallen, you go outside. No, we don't. So we have to be careful when we learn philosophy and then we see how the pure devotees act, not to artificially imitate it, but translate that in, okay, Narottam Das Thakur says I'm the most fallen. Translate that into, what does that mean for me? I know how fallen I am, but never in my life did I think I was the most fallen person in this kind. I don't think any of us did. And if any of you did, now we know that's like not realistic. It's not because you go out and I'm the most fallen and you go out on the street and you start judging everybody, right? You've got a better car than me. He has a worse car than me. I have a bigger house than him. We're making all these calculations. So then we have to get it realistic. What does it mean? I'm supposed to be humble. I'm supposed to be fallen, this and that. What does it mean for me according to where I'm at? And I can tell you personally what it means for me. To learn to see the great qualities in devotees. The ones I like and the ones I don't like. Oh, Prabhu, I like all the devotees. No, you don't. You can't like everybody. We're all so different. Right? You come from this super high-class Brahmin family, and then, there's people around who are like, they just never went to school, they're not cultured, You like him, he's funny, but you don't want to really, be that close, right? That's human nature, right? But, so I want to learn to respect that. Even though he's not educated, I want to see, can I respect him and not think I'm so great just because I come from this family and have a great education, because that's against the principle of bhakti. So I want to learn how to respect him. Maybe I think, let me serve that Prabhu. Let me serve prasadam to that Prabhu. That will be good for me. That will teach me humility, right? And then you can think of many practical ways you can practice and manifest humility according to your level, what's real for you and what will help you. But I can guarantee you, if you go around and tell every devotee you're lower than a worm on stool, it will not raise your humility quota 1 inch. It'll just make you think you're humble when actually you're just trying to impress people, isn't it? I mean, anyone who goes around and says I'm lower than a worm on stool, there's a good chance they're trying to impress people with their humility, which makes no sense, right? You probably all know the story when a devotee came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. And Prabhupada caught him in his false ego. Because you don't think if someone's saying I'm the most fallen, that's false ego. And Prabhupada caught him. He said, you are not the most anything. Right? So he wanted to get recognition for being the most fallen because he wasn't the best devotee in the temple. So if you can't be number one, you can be the last one. And you can be recognized for being last or the worst. So Prabhupada caught him. He said, this is false ego. You want significance for being the most fallen. And secondly, if I'm the most fallen, then when you see me doing all kinds of stupid, nonsensical things, you'll just say, oh, he's the most fallen, don't worry about him. So now I can do whatever I want, and nobody can criticize me, because, after all, I'm the most fallen. You might as well get a t-shirt. Don't ask me to do any service, because I'm the most fallen, and I just can't do it, right? So it can be used as an excuse. And we're thinking, oh, I'm humble because I'm saying I'm the most fallen. Yeah, so we deceive ourselves, we cheat ourselves, we lie to ourselves, and try to pretend that we're humble, but actually we can practice humility according to our level of realization. So that was the answer to his question about thinking about Leela when you chant Japa. It went kind of around the universe, but it's an important point. Hare Krishna.
One
Yes.
question with this is saying, so many times devotees will hear lectures on humility, submissiveness. So they, rather than applying, because in new state, they cannot apply, as you said, the high levels of humility, then they start judging the community or the seniors. And because of finding that fault, even they will not apply the simple principles of obedience, submission, loyalty, and they jeopardize their whole spiritual life. So how to help the devotees to understand the principles rightly, that what to be expected, what not to be expected, because most of the time we apply on others and apply on ourselves what we hear.
That is a problem. That just shows the nature of human beings. There's a funny story. There's this man he's an American man. I believe he's a pastor, but he really should be a comedian because he's much better as a comedian than a pastor. So he does this workshop on marriage. So he jokes, he said, when I'm reading the Bible and it talks about how the wife should act, he said all the husbands are like, listen, listen. Talking about the wife, listen, right? And then when he reads the Bible about how the men should act, the wife's like, listen. He's talking about the men. So after I heard that, I thought, well, that's really interesting. So, the story of Devahuti Kardama. And you ask the men, well, what do you remember from that chapter? And they'll tell you about, this is how women should be. And ask the women, this is how men should be. Right? Isn't it? It's true, right? That's why you're laughing, because it's true. So, what you're saying is, this is a human tendency. When we understand what is right and wrong, the first person we notice, or the first people we notice the right and wrong, are the people around us. And so, we noticed this in the early days of the Japa retreats, because when the devotees came out of the Japa retreats, it was 5, 6, 7, 8 days of going very deeply into Japa. And by the last days, you'd have a whole room, devotees like this. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's like they go for hours just sitting straight. Is he alive? Is that a robot? What is it? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He didn't open his eyes, didn't blink, didn't twitch, and really into it. And devotees say, I never experienced the holy name like this. And then they go into the temple, right, for morning program, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama. And you're like, Prabhu, that's not how to chant! And they're all talking, and you're like... So, it actually became a problem that devotees who were going to the Japa workshops were becoming critical of the other devotees' Japa. Basically, they were just chanting the same way you chanted 5 days ago. So for 5 days you didn't chant that way, and now you're God and ready to, condemn all the bad Japa chanters. That's human nature. When you learn something, you're supposed to learn it for yourself. And if you're actually a devotee, then when you see a devotee who's chanting,